Just wanted to remind you that I am super dedicated and really excited about helping you to build these connections in your relationships while we are decoding attachment styles. I only have one little favor. Can you please hit that subscribe button? You're not only going to be accessing all of the episodes that I put out weekly, but we're going to be able to keep this show free for everyone. And your support allows us to reach more people who need this kind of knowledge to build happier and healthier and more fulfilling relationships, which is what we all want, right? So I'm going to ask you, again, hit the subscribe button, and I'm going to say thank you very much. Now on to the episode. Some of you may know that I just celebrated 45 years on this planet, and I thought that on this episode, it might be a good idea for me to share some of the life lessons I wish I knew earlier. It's really about how you want to play the game of life with grace and wisdom. I believe life is a game. And like any game, it's meant to be played and not just endured. A lot of times we go through life thinking that, I've just got to get through this. I've got to get through this. And at the age of about 27, I started to see how fleeting time can be. Perhaps earlier, but at 27, it really sunk in. You see, my mom passed away when I was 13 and she was only 39. When I got closer to adulthood, I started to see that 39 is such a young age to leave. And now that I'm 45, I've got all of this energy and the experiences that I have and enjoying my children. And now I could truly, truly appreciate that 39 is such a young age to pass. And so, I've learned how to enjoy life instead of looking at even negative experiences as something that I just want to get through to the next moment. The last thing I would want is to be 120 on my deathbed and thinking, I wish I had more time, or I wish I knew how to slow down in the past and enjoy those moments. And so I thought I'd share some of these lessons. And like I said, I believe that life is a beautiful game and you want to be playful. You want to have fun with it. So over the years, for sure, I've had some really hard-earned lessons, but they have transformed how I approach my relationships, how I approach challenges, and it's really helped with my personal growth. So I'm going to share some of the insights that have helped me to embrace all of the messiness, and they've helped me to let go of control and to find joy, like true, deep, fulfilling joy on this journey. So I'm going to share a few of them, and then I'm going to give you some actionable takeaways at the end of each one of them, which is also going to help you to play the game of life with some grace, a lot of empathy, and wisdom. Of course, you could get your notebook and you could get your pen and you could take notes along with this and start practicing them as you continue on your journey. Now, like I said, I believe life is a game, so you want to enjoy playing it. It's not just about winning or losing. It's about enjoying the process. When we stop and we take everything so seriously, what we do is we are neglecting the experience of joy and curiosity and wonder. So what you want to do is approach challenges with a playful mindset. Ask yourself questions like, how can I make this fun? Or what can I learn from this? I have gotten into the habit of, if there is a negative experience coming my way or I feel a little bit of discomfort, I have a way of looking up at the sky and I'll say, okay, bring it on. Let me see who I'm going to become after I manage this emotion, after I manage my reaction to this experience. Who will I be? Let me see this as a fun exercise, right? And this is something you can do for yourself. Life is full of wonder. We're going to meet people who are going to give us little tidbits of advice. And I find that by listening to others, I could grow from some of the things they say. Humans are messy. but they're also beautiful. When I met my partner almost 4 years ago, I remember him saying that for the most part, humans are good. And I thought about it, and it stayed with me. They are. We are imperfect, we're unpredictable, and we're beautifully complex. What helps us to see this in each and every human being is when we stop trying to control them. Trying to control others will only lead to frustration and disappointment. Why do we try to control them? We want them to do something that would make us happy. We want them to do something that we would approve of. And when we're trying to change them, I mean, we meet people and we like them, and you give us a few months, and then suddenly we see things that we don't quite appreciate, and we try to change them. That brings us frustration. And it stops us from focusing on the things that we liked about them in the first place. So we want to accept that, yes, we're not all perfect. Let's just focus on the things about the person that we enjoy, that we love, and stay with that. Allow them the room. If they feel like the things that we are not very comfortable with is affecting them in some way, let them be responsible for changing that if they want to. What we get to do is set our boundaries. If someone's doing something that we don't like, and I remember, so I've got boundaries with my kids. One of them is swearing. They're not allowed to use foul language in front of me or in my presence. And I was asked, why is it that I don't allow my kids to use foul language in front of me when I use foul language at times in, around my friends, or I would at times. And it was a boundary. It's a boundary that I set with my kids. It's an understanding that we have. They can talk to their friends using foul language on their time, in their space, but they don't bring that energy into my space. What it does is it allows them to know that, okay, this is a different relationship. And in this relationship, I am not comfortable with a particular act coming from them. Now, I don't have to explain myself. It is my boundary. I know how I feel, and I don't have to explain myself. I've said it makes me uncomfortable, and they have respected it. Now, another question I got was, so what if they do it without respecting my boundary? Is there a punishment? There isn't a punishment. Not because they're my kids. There is no punishment. What I will do is I would uphold the boundary that I've set with myself. I will not tolerate it, so I will remove myself from their company. So let's say we're having dinner and somebody uses a foul language and they don't jump in and apologize like they do now. They just overlook it and they just say something like, "Oh, Mom, what's the big deal? We're in a different century. Get over it." If they say anything of that sort, that's okay. That's on them. But I will excuse myself from the dinner table because that's the boundary I set with myself. And now there's an unspoken understanding that I will not tolerate it. And that's how we set our boundaries. So boundaries are important. But we also accept that humans are messy and they're complicated. And it doesn't mean that we don't love them anymore. But we're also setting boundaries. So embrace the messiness of human relationships and focus on understanding and appreciating each other instead of trying to change them. So in the example that I gave about setting my boundaries, I will not try to change another person. I will just say, this is what I tolerate and this is what I won't tolerate. And I say that more with my actions than I do with words. So setting boundaries that way, that has been another great, powerful life lesson that I've learned. We also want to know that true love means giving without expectations. Now, this is not easy. Again, if you've been following me or listening to me for a while, you know I talk a lot about the age of 27. A lot has changed, or a lot started to change at 27. It was like an awakening of my consciousness, where it was like a time when I said, I will not go through this suffering anymore. I will not be a victim to my experiences anymore. what I started to see, and perhaps because at that time I started to follow Buddhism a little more closely, is that true love means giving without expectations. It is unconditional. It is that I will give to you what I know will make you happy and feel at peace, but I'm not expecting you to do anything in return. You see, the moment we start to expect something from someone else because we're being nice to them, because we're being kind, because we're being compassionate and caring, we're setting ourselves up for disappointment and resentment. And we're not really doing it from a pure heart. We're doing it because we want something in return. It is a barter system. It's business. It's no longer true love. Love isn't about keeping score. It's not about expecting something in return. True love is about giving freely and accepting people for who they are. Now, it doesn't mean that you have to stay in these relationships. It doesn't mean that you have to stick with the person. You can look at them and say, I love you. I know this is who you are. I accept the reality of who you are. But because it goes against who I am, who you are is not in alignment with who I am, I will remove myself from this relationship. So this is where we set boundaries and we have empathy. Empathy is I care about you, I see you, I accept you, I respect you. Boundary is doesn't work for me. And that's all right. There is no negative feelings here. It's still I'm giving you my love. So we want to practice unconditional love. We want to give without strings attached and let go of the need of reciprocity. And it is not easy, like I said, but with practice, we get there. How do we do this? I've had to ask myself questions over and over, and I still do. Why am I doing this thing? Am I looking for approval? Do I want them to like me? Do I want them to validate me? What exactly am I doing? Or am I doing this because this is a good person and I care about this person and this person's been in my life and I like knowing that the little contribution that I can make to their life will bring them some joy or some peace. What is my intention? That helps us to gauge on if we're showing unconditional love or if it's coming from a place of fear and need, our own selfishness. Another lesson that I learned is that patience and respect will trump control. Impatience, and this is something that I've only really examined about 2 years now. Impatience and the desire or the want or the need to control someone else. It's often rooted in our fear, the fear of not getting what we want or losing what we have. When you want a true connection, you're going to have to be patient and respect the other person. The other person is going through their journey. They're on their path. It's none of my business, absolutely none of my right to walk into someone else's life and say, guess what? Now you have to do absolutely everything that is going to make me happy, that is going to make me feel better. I have no right. The only thing that I can do is look at another human being, see who they are, how they show up, and ask myself, is this what I want in my life? Is this in alignment with who I am? Do I feel good in this relationship? That's the only right I've got. So how do you do this? You want to slow down and trust the process. Respect the other person's autonomy. What I'm sharing here with you is stuff that I've learned along the way. I used to be that person just before 27 and 27 to about 39-ish. I wanted to control. I thought that I knew better. I was working on my healing journey and I thought that the person in my life needed to work on themselves. It was them, not me. Everything started to change at 27 when I started to examine myself, but it took a while to change. Now, in my practice, it's just a side note, all the lessons I'm able to teach in about 12 weeks. But going through this process on my own, it took years to stop and examine myself and then make these little changes that, they became patterns, and then they became a part of my personality. But it took a long time to get to this. And what I've learned is that patience and respect for other people just allow people to make decisions for themselves, and to quiet my ego, to say to myself that I'm not the authority on another person. I'm not better than the other person on this journey of self-discovery. We're going at different paces, but we're not the same. We're no special than the other person. They're going through their own struggles. I'm going through my own struggles. We're figuring this thing out. So allow people to be without trying to control them. And another lesson I learned was to assume that I know nothing. And that helps me to stay open to learning. And it's really tricky because with the work that I do, people expect me to be the absolute authority on everything. And there are times when I just don't know an absolute outcome. It depends on the individual. I may be giving you advice that you're just not ready for right now. I remember reading the book A New Earth by Eckhart Tolle, and there was a part of it that says, it's okay if you're not ready for this book. And the friend who gave it to me, she said, I read this book years ago, and I feel like you're ready for this book now. And I did not know what that meant. I read the book. I loved it, learned a lot from it, read it 2 other times, learned new things from it. But what happened was I was super excited about the book that I bought many copies to give to all of my friends, all the people that I care about. And a lot of them came back and said, oh, I'm not interested, or this is too heavy, or I visited their place and saw it with dust in a corner. And then years after, I remember one particular friend said, I picked up that book and it has been so incredible. And this is a friend who said, it's just too heavy for me. So information will come to us when we are ready for it. So it's so important that we recognize, or we can accept, that we don't know everything. That allows us room to grow and learn, and it quiets that arrogant side of us that we sometimes have. But the moment we start to think that we know everything is the moment we just stop growing, because we're not open anymore. So humility and curiosity are 2 keys to a lifelong learning experience. And I absolutely love to learn. So, if someone says, oh, what do you know? Or how do we go about this? Most of the times I really don't know it all. And again, it depends on who you are as an individual. Someone may come to me with brilliant advice, but who I am as an individual, it doesn't work for. Let's say, for example, a 10-day silent retreat. Does it sound like a great idea? Of course, I've heard wonderful things about it. But who I am right now, the work that I do, the things that the many responsibilities I have right now, it does not work for me in this moment. So stay open to learning. Approach every situation with an open mind and ask questions, listen deeply, and be willing to change perspectives. My therapist and I had this conversation a long time ago about what I know and what I don't know. And I said, I absolutely love the fact that I don't know everything, and I could accept that I don't know everything. Because what I've learned is that I can have a very strong opinion today, and tomorrow I read up on a new research and my perspective changes, and I'm okay with that. I don't feel terrible about it because I've accepted that I am forever going to be learning on this massive classroom called Earth. And it is very freeing. It is incredibly freeing to admit to ourselves that we just don't know. It allows us to just dance through life picking up information and dropping information that suits us at the time that we need it, right? So if this resonates with you, let me know in the comment section, and I will continue right on with the lessons that I've learned. Everything changes. Maybe this started to sink in when mom passed away. We get into relationships, especially when you're in a relationship with your parent. You think they're going to live forever. You think they're going to be there forever. I've gone through many breakups, many losses, losing colleagues in India, losing friends along the way. And in some cases, not because there was a disruption in the relationship or anything uncomfortable happened, but people grow apart. And there were difficult lessons, difficult experiences. But you want to worry less and live more instead of worrying about the changes, worrying about people not staying in your life forever and ever. Learn how to be present with them. Take this information. Mom passing really, really affected me to a point where I clung on to people. I was very needy and clingy in relationships because I was afraid that time was running out. Instead of back then when I should have slowed down and just enjoy the moments that I had with those people. Now, I can center myself. So, for example, I spent my birthday in Barbados with really good friends and my partner. And the week after, when I returned to New York, I was supposed to leave to visit my sister and my niece and my nephew. And while I was in Barbados, my mind kept going to, I'm going to leave Barbados and I'm going to spend a time with my sister and niece and nephew. I had to bring my mind consciously back to the present and say, okay, that's going to happen, sure, but let's stay present right now. Right now, you're sitting with your partner, you're in love, you like this human being, you get to share your time with this human being. You get to share this sofa with this human being. You get to share this view with this human being. You get to hear your friends laughing and talking. You get to be a part of this wonderful conversation. So it is so important that we learn how to stay present instead of always looking for the next thing, because life is constantly evolving. Everything is constantly changing. What may feel like difficulty in your life right now is going to be a distant memory tomorrow. I can still remember the day mom passed away. I remember the looks on my sister's faces. I remember what they were wearing. I remember the confusion with all of us. I remember the fear on the day of the funeral that she was no longer going to be there. I remember it, but it is a memory. It is only a memory. There is no pain attached to it. And yes, there are times I miss my mother, but that's a different relationship as well. An ex, for example, do I remember certain experiences? For sure. The mind does not shut off these things. However, there isn't an emotion attached to it. And that tells how healed we are when the emotion is removed from the experience of the past. So whatever you're going through right now, learn your lessons from them. Explore this experience with some curiosity. What can I learn from this? How can I benefit from this? And at the same time, know that as we go through the passages of time, this is going to be a thing of the past. The emotions that you're feeling right now will fade. So practice mindfulness. Try to stay focused on what's happening right now and trust that change is going to happen in your favor. It's going to work out for you. Another massive lesson that I learned when I was a little girl, I wish I had powers. I've always been into stories of magical creatures, and I'm a huge Harry Potter fan, and I love magic. And I always wanted to have superpowers. then I learned about the power of words. I started, actually, it was my kids noticed that I had the ability to say things and it would happen. We call that manifestation in today's world. When I started to pay attention to the words that I use, to the things that I manifested, I started to become incredibly quiet because I knew that my words and thoughts, even my thoughts, can shape my reality. So it's important that we choose them wisely. When you're going through a difficult time in your relationship, or if you're dating someone and they aren't exactly as you would like them to be careful with what we're saying. If we keep saying things like, oh, this person's never there for me, this person doesn't show up for me, this person doesn't prioritize me, then we're kind of creating that thing. We're bringing more and more of it into our lives. If you can look at a partner and say, this person really loves me, even if you don't believe it in that moment, keep repeatedly saying it. You will notice that you start to soften to them. And when you soften to them, they are going to feel it energetically and come towards you. And yes, they are going to start to show you that you matter to them, that you are a priority. So words are incredibly, incredibly powerful. And this has been one of my greatest lessons. Now, it does help me in accepting that I don't know everything. So it keeps me shut up for the most part. So if you see me in certain circles, you might notice that I'm very quiet. And that comes from two things: knowing I don't know everything and I don't have to be a part of knowing or acting as though I know everything. And knowing that my words are quite powerful. I've got to watch what I say because I could just make things happen. And you have that power within you too. We all have the power to speak things into being. Try it sometimes. See how that works for you. Look into your past of all the thoughts, the things that you said you wanted or wish you had. I bet you already have them. You've always had this power within you. We just don't pay attention. There's just so many things going on in our lives that we just don't stop and pay attention to them. So that's been a great lesson for me. Be open to change and letting go. Clinging to what's familiar can always hold us back. It stops us from exploring new avenues and being curious about life again. When we want to grow, we want to be able to let go of what is no longer serving us. A lot of times people can't set boundaries because they don't know how to let go. One of the biggest struggles people have is setting boundaries with family members because they have been family for so long. You can still be empathetic and kind and considerate, respectful to family members, but not be so involved or not have them so involved in your life. So be open to letting go of what is no longer serving you. Remember that love, respect, and time are earned. These are incredibly precious gifts. They're not entitlement. Nobody is entitled to come into your life and just take your love and take your respect and take your trust and take your time. You are responsible for protecting these things. You have to see them as jewels. People need to earn them. You're not going to have a massive diamond and just give it randomly to anyone. You have to be around that person, learn about them, decide at what point you think that they're trustworthy enough to take this precious thing from you. So start to see your love, your respect, your time, and your trust as precious, precious stones. Value it that way. And isn't it sad that we could value a piece of diamond, but something as precious as our love, something as magical, something that is one of the most magical potions on this earth, we just hand it off to people? So, I'm sorry, my daughter was calling and there was a quick pause there. All right, I'll call her back in a tad bit. All right, so let me share one more lesson that I've learned. Empathy requires boundaries. Okay. Empathy is your light side. It's your nice side. It's your feminine energy. Boundaries, that's the darkness. If you're a part of the spiritual world, we talk a lot about balancing light and dark energies. If you try to suffocate the dark energy, it's going to bubble up and it's going to become something compressed but needs space, and it's going to have that pressure cooker effect. This is when, we're trying to be nice to someone, we're trying to be understanding, compassionate, all this good fun stuff. And then we're holding back resentment and anger. We're shoving it in a corner. And the next thing you know, we're saying mean, nasty things. So we want to be able to embrace both of them. Your light energy, that's your empathy. Your dark energy, that is your boundary. You want to be able to say, I understand where you're coming from, which is the empathy. It doesn't work for me. That's my boundary. You want to have both together. You want to learn how to balance them. Now, you can only balance them when you truly love yourself. And this calls for some heavy inner child healing exercises. Now, I have just designed some questions to help you along, questions and exercises, tools and strategies to help you along on your inner child healing exercise. I am going to be giving those out. I plan on giving out 100 of those for free. Just send me an email when you listen to this podcast. Send me an email to Annalisa Bahadur at gmail.com, and I will send you a free copy of it, and you could start to work on your inner child healing. Don't forget, it's Annalisa Bahadur at gmail.com. Until next time, it's always a pleasure serving you.